Good afternoon, everyone. I, CHR Misha, on behalf of Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, ICI, welcome all the participants in today's webcast on decisions, deadlines, discipline, the twisted art of setting priorities that work. So, on behalf of the committee, I welcome today's resource person, CA Nilanjan Paul, and all others present here. CA Nilanjan Paul is a seasoned chartered accountant with 17 years of post qualification experience in wide range of accounting and auditing experience. He's a speaker in various established platforms, including the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, set up by MCA, and involved in providing point of view on emerging issues such as reporting under Companies Act and SEBI listing regulation. He has published point of view on emerging topics in leading publication having national presence and speaker at various forums. He has also significant experience in assessing financial reporting implementation arising from complex and judgmental matters. He has also experience in handling capital market transaction. So with these brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, and now the floor is all open for your deliberation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Charmi, and warm good afternoon to everyone. I think the topic that the committee has chosen today is quite relevant, and I believe that it will be equally interesting for all of you. I think we all struggle with deadlines. We never seem to find time. 24 hours seem to be very less, right? Especially with our electronic gadgets. So let's see what best we can do to leverage that 24-hour time, right? So, Chermi, if you could tell me if my screen is visible, and then I can uh, go live.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Thank you, thank you. So, so the topic, as I think Chermi mentioned, the twisted art of setting priorities that work. So, I think we all somehow do these kind of activity even today, right? We would wake up in the morning. We'll try to set up what we want to do for the day. At least many people whom I know would start their morning by looking at the to-do list on their phone, or thinking of something that they have to do it on an urgent basis, right? So we are going to talk about that. We are going to also talk about how important time management is, and what best we can do to extract a very significant portion of your productive hours and use it in the most efficient way, right? So what we will cover today, I think we'll cover time management, we'll cover detecting difficulties in time management, we'll cover procrastinations, right? And how we can prevent it, how to plan time, and how to set goals. Before I get into the next slides, and what I would also urge all of you to have an engaging discussion. Whatever thoughts, experiences that you want to share, you can put that up on the chat, and then I will request Sharmi or someone to moderate those questions. But it is not a very technical kind of a topic, but it's a topic that we grapple with each and every day, right? So let's start. Uh, Time. I think we never uh, we never find time, right? We could see people who are always in hurry. We'll see cars dashing and zooming in front of us when we're on the road, but more likely than not, we never reach that destination on time, right? So I think that's also one thought I would like to leave with all of you. We all seem to be in a hurry, but we don't generally reach on time, right? So one thought I'll leave with all of you to reflect and introspect. So the irony of time is that time is irrepressible. The moment, it's like a moment. It Once it is gone, it can't be turned back, right? And for many people, especially the CA aspirants, because we have gone through that stage, I think it is one of the most valued aspect when we are in that particular phase in life, right? So I'm not saying that it is not valuable in other phases, but probably at a personal level, that was the time when I felt the importance of time or the importance of lack of time, right? Uh, the environment that we work today is highly paced, it's highly competitive, right? And hence the value of time cannot be overemphasized. It is very, very much critical for everybody, for us. Uh, we can get more money, but obviously we can't buy time. I think that we would all agree, because once we have paid uh, or we have lost that amount of time, it can never ever come back. Okay. Another, probably a Chinese proverb, which says that an inch of gold cannot buy an inch of time. Yeah. So this only says that it is a lost asset if you are not using it properly. And I'm sure the thoughts that would be going through in our heads is that how can I make it more productive, right? How, if I'm spending, let's say, from a professional front, 8 waking hours from our family or from some other things, are we trying to make the best effort of that time, right? So why time management is important? Because it is important for us to utilize the available time in an optimum manner to achieve one's goal, right? What I'm trying to stress upon is the word available time. We may have 24 hours, but we may have productive hours of, let's say, 20 hours or 18 hours, depending on everybody's time schedule. But we have some limited available time, right? And we would obviously like to be efficient. And time management is that tool which will help us to reach our objective in a efficient manner. Now, this discussion, though it is more from a professional standpoint, more of an office kind of a working environment, but I think this topics and the construct of the today's discussion would equally apply to a personal level also. It is not limited to just professional, right? So I would sincerely urge all of you to imbibe and reflect on whatever we're going to talk about from a time management standpoint. So we need time for everything. We need time to work. We need time to think. We need time to play. We need time to read. We need time to, enjoy certain privileges. We need time to serve. If I want to serve or help a particular activity, uh, then I also need time. And most importantly, we need time to laugh, right? I don't think we can ever underestimate the time that we love when we're spending time with our fellow colleagues, right? When we're enjoying a good time in our office, or when we try to celebrate their achievements, we need time for all of them. I think from a personal standpoint, the and from a professional point of view, we should be having significant of laughing time, right? And by laughing time, I don't mean that we laugh on each other, but laughing time is to say that we celebrate each other's victories, right? So the net or the short point is that we need time. We need time for many things, right? Uh, and if you are able to spend time, for example, for work, you would be successful. If you are interested in reading, you become a source of wisdom. If you are able to serve a purpose, then it becomes a purpose for your life, right? If you spend time in thinking, you would gain power, right? If you would time to play, I think that just rekindles the youth or the playful spirit in that particular individual. If you want to enjoy privileges, right? I think you would need to have a good time and a good partner to enjoy that particular moment. And most importantly, time for laugh. It is, as it said, it is a music for soul. So I think we need time for everything. There are many other things I'm sure where you would be spending time, but from a personal standpoint, this could be a quick snapshot where I would like to spend time. Right now, how when we are working in a professional kind of an environment, and we have this responsibility of managing teams. Many a times, what we have seen is that uh, we don't tend to find time, and there are certain indicators which people gauge, especially if you have a team and that team comprises of peer as well as junior team members. Though, if you ask them, they can definitely tell you whether the supervisor is able to manage the time properly or not. Okay, and these are the top four items which I have put forward based on my interactions with a couple of team members. Now, the early warnings which they see is when people where the supervisor don't seem to be managing time properly is handing in work late. Right? Let's say you have a deadline and you always try to submit the deliverables at the fag end of the deadline. So if the deadline will stop at 6, probably you will be struggling to send the email at 6:01, right? If the deadline is on Friday, you will try to send your work by Sunday. Okay, so it is always pushing against time, going against time, and fighting to see how we can complete our work at a particular point in time. Second, as the early warning, which I felt everybody will be resonating to, is that submitting the work which is not up to your usual standard, right? If there is a paucity of time, if you're not using the time properly, then what will happen is that the work that you will generally do would be far superior as compared to the work which is done at in a hurry. So there are team members who would gauge you, who would be able to uh, absorb that, and who will be able to reflect that the work that you have done at present may not be in line with what your usual standard of work is. Forgetting commitments. Now that could be another early warning sign because you may have too many things to do. Probably you have overcommitted. You may not have looked at your bandwidth or the bandwidth of the team, and hence that makes you forgetting your commitments. Now, another signal could be that you are finding that you don't have enough time to complete your task. I think that is a very common reaction or a common observation which I get to hear when I talk to people, talk to my team members, or even talk to my seniors. Many of us don't think that 24 hours is enough, right? So I think if you constantly communicate this theory or constantly communicate this feeling across your team members, more likely than not, this this approach or this thought that 24 hours is not enough will eventually spread across the team members. And I can vouch for that. I don't think it is a very uh, good way to work with a team. It just pulls down the morale of the entire team, right? So my again sincere urge to all of you would be to look at the commitments. Don't or rather find ways to motivate the team and avoid saying that I don't have enough time to do things. Lastly, I have seen people making excuses for why work cannot be done, right? My approach had always been to find reasons to make things work, but unfortunately, we know that there are certain thoughts where we would always give excuses of why it did not work. So again, these are the three or four early warnings, which I think would be quite prevalent and common with many of us, including me. And hence, it is important that we identify and acknowledge how we want to deal with these early signs. Okay. Efficiency versus says effectiveness. Now, one of the thought that everybody have is that if I work till 12 o'clock every day, then probably I am more efficient or am I more effective, right? So this innate thought of working late, right, somehow pulls down the entire morale of the team, right? So we'll see how is it really efficient that we work for 24 hours or 12 hours or 20 hours a day, or is it really effective? Now, in my experience, right, they are not necessarily effective, right? They might be busy, but they are not effective. When you say busy, what you mean is that you are busy in doing things. Now, effective is that how best you can do that in a much more smarter and much more efficient way, right? So you might be a hardworking person, but if you don't have a plan or if you don't have to prioritize, then possibly you may not be effective. Uh, Again, an anecdote, probably a very contrarian kind of a view. People who are hardworking and who work the longest may not be the most effective performer, because what happens is that over a period of time you would lose that steam in you, right? And unless you are able to introspect and find time and heal yourself, it will be very difficult for you to maintain that speed for a long period of time, right? uh, so what I want to highlight here is that if you're working late, that doesn't mean you are smart or you're effective. What it only means that you are busy. Now, it could be that you are busy for right reasons. I'm not saying that you are not busy for right reasons, but is it that would you also like to be effective, right? So efficiency versus effectiveness, it is nothing to do with the long hours that you would put each and every day. There might be some scenarios, a deadline, right? Let's say if you're auditing a listed entity with a which who is a very large group, right? In that case, you might be able to work in that fashion. But to say that you are effective, I would have my doubts for that. Now, common causes. Procrastination. I'm sure you would have heard this word for some time, right? It is also a very Gen Z kind of a word, right? Procrastination. So, what is meant by procrastination is putting off or doing something intentionally and habitually, right? It is not that you don't have time. It is have that you don't feel like doing it, right? Or rather, you would always pick certain things at particular point in time, right? So if I have to give my example, I would I had a habit in the past of picking up things only after to 9 o'clock at night, right? If you ask me what I used to do before 9 o'clock in the night, I may not have a very clear cut answer. So procrastination is also a fear of doing things which you find difficult, right? So it could be intentional, it could be habitual, right? Uh, I think one of the quick tips which I would leave a thought with everyone is that you think, why am I putting this off? Is there a reason? Is there no reason? Uh, Generally, what I've seen people is that they will give an excuse. Today I had a very rough day. Today I had, a very uncomfortable discussion with my spouse. Right? Today I reached very late from office. Right? So we have somewhere a very thin line between a reason and excuse. Generally, what is seen in procrastination is that people will give excuse rather than a reason. right? And I have seen this happening. If let's say somebody an emergency or a very or a work which will be interesting to that particular person, he or she will immediately turn around and do that work in a very beautiful way. So procrastination is not just people don't want to do. Procrastination also means that possibly you are fearful of something, some areas or some conversations that you're not very comfortable with. So that puts you off, right? And as a human tendency, we would generally like to stay away from areas which makes us uncomfortable. Now, that human mindset plus the excuse giving attitude will be a common reason for procrastination. I think we should banish it, right? Uh, 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 Procrastination is the world's number one time waster. It wastes a significant amount of time, right? Uh, and again, I did get a question some time back that what would be a good time to do a particular thing. It could be reading a book, it could be talking to someone, it could be planning your work for tomorrow. What is the best time? Right? I don't feel like it. I know I am procrastinating, but what do you think is the best time? So my response to that question is that the best time is now. Right? There is no other time which is best than now, right? So again, I thought I will leave with all of you is that procrastination, we should be trying to banish it from our lives, and the best time to do anything is now. Okay. I think we briefly covered this. Why do we procrastinate? Right? It is because a task is unpleasant, difficult, very tedious, boring, or simply there comparatively there are better alternatives or better interesting avenues. Maybe a time on Netflix or time on your social media could give you that uh, happy hormones rather than working on your deliverable. So there are many various reasons. Um, the distractions that we have now on digital media or social media is also adding to the reason of procrastination. But generally it is an item which is unpleasant to face, difficult, or generally which is not immediate. So for example, if you know that I would have to work on a deadline which I can finish in the next 1 or 2 days, probably I will not be giving enough time today, right? That could also be a good strategy to prioritize. But at least what we should also think is that are we using this as excuse, or are we having enough reasons to use that time in a much more positive way? Yeah. Uh, Delegating. I think one of the ways that we uh, have seen is that people don't delegate properly, right? Uh, One of the myths that we have for delegation, that is we somehow feel delegation is equal to abdication. Okay, when you say abdication, it means that you're transferring or outsourcing your responsibility to somebody else. Yeah. So what I would like to highlight is that when you delegate, you are using the help of somebody else, right? Delegation doesn't mean that you are abdicating your responsibility. You continue to be responsible for the work that you're supposed to do, right? Especially in a professional environment, if you're hard working with a team, you would tend to use the work of your other team members. So that also improves the team bonding. It creates the next line of supervisor, and you are also able to share or learn from your team members. But in no way it means that delegation is akin to a transfer of responsibility. You continue to remain responsible for the work that you are assigned to do. Okay. But many instances, what we have seen is that this delegation is done in a very poor manner. At best, what we have seen people delegating is calling up their junior and telling him in a very high level basis what is their expectation for a particular deliverable, right? They will not give you a granular detail. They will just give you the objective. Places we have also seen that that you will just get a phone call to say that finish this work, at this particular time on this particular date. That is not delegation. If you're expecting people to work in a proper way, you would have an obligation to guide them and tell them what you expect out of them. So unless you granularly put down what is the expectation, more likely than not, the outcome would not be as per your desired results. Okay. Uh, we also sometimes are fearful of delegating, right? We believe that the we can do this work very, very fastly, very, very efficiently. And if I have to explain this to someone, probably he or she will take more time. I would also, in addition to that, spending more time in explaining why he or she should do this job. But again, this might be a short term investment you're making in that person. But if you are able to groom your next line of your team, then you imagine the bandwidth which is freed up, right? Then obviously you would be able to pick up more and more challenges. So my request to all of you is that you delegate in a proper manner, but please don't abdicate. Generally, delegation fails because you do not, the supervisor do not instruct the work to be done to the other team members in a proper way. Okay, meetings. I think we all get into meetings every day. At least from a professional standpoint, we see meetings as a very, very common feature in our day to day life. Earlier, we used to have physical meetings. Now, because of technology, we have MS Team meetings or Zoom meeting or Google Meet meeting. But I'm sure at least there will be one meeting in a day in everybody's of our life. I want all of you to think and reflect. Whenever you get a meeting invite, what is the first reaction do you have? Do you feel that it is a potential time waster? It is a time where we will just uh, get into some random discussions. There is no agenda. There is no fixed perspective why we are having this meeting, and we will come out from that meeting in an inconclusive manner, right? So meetings in our professional lives, I would say, are necessary evils. We cannot say no, right, to every meeting that will come up as an invite in our mailbox. But what we can do is that we can choose which one to pick up and which one not to pick up, right? Or let's say if you think the meeting is not going to be fruitful, probably you should make sure that the agenda of the meeting, is with you. If you are not happy with the agenda, maybe we would like to clarify, right? Because meetings, what we have seen in professional life, is sometimes just a filler for unnecessary work, right? uh, there is no conclusive agenda, there is no conclusion from that meeting, but we all tend to spend more times in discussing what is avoidable, right? As a participant, when you participate in a meeting, what is expected by the participant is that there has to be a very clear cut agenda. There has to be a meeting leader who would lead that meeting. If there is a disagreement between two team members, is there if the meeting is not going into a particular way, probably the meeting leader would have to who would have to intervene and maintain the desired decorum, right? So as a participant, if you are not having these, right, I think the meeting would obviously end up as a potential time waster. Now, from a professional standpoint, why do we think that uh, w- sorry, why do we think that we are not able to do things correctly? Is that if you are not able to manage time, or the management of time is poor, then obviously that there are missed deadlines and appointments. There are missed opportunities not as individuals, but also of the entire team. It also shows an unprofessional behavior, right? It shows that the team lacks professionalism, right? Quality of work obviously suffers. Unwanted stress because you are burning your resources or your time at the last moment. So you are putting a significant stress on the entire resources that you have. Professional reputation, the reputation of the team leader, and the group of individuals would also be under question. If it is with a client, then obviously the reputation of the firm or the entity is also put in a very, very bad light. There's a strained workplace relationships. This also triggers conflicts, right? And from a workplace relationship perspective, everybody wants to have a professional behavior and and work in a professional environment. But if the time management is not good, then obviously the relationship will all be strained. There might even be financial penalties, right? Let's say you're supposed to submit a particular proposal or a particular tender on time. If you're not sending it on time, then might be a financial penalty. Work life imbalance, right? You tend to be lopsided, you tend to be focusing more on work, and you are not able to find time for yourself. In the longer run, I think this is immensely bad for the health and mental well-being of that individual. So, not a very good sign, or not a very good outcome. As I said, there could be financial, there could be non-financial, there could be reputational damage, and there could be obviously unwanted stress on the entire team if time management is not done properly. So let's see what we can do to improve our time. Uh, and I would like to all of you to just see this. We and these are very commonly accepted steps that we have put out. We should prioritize. We should get organized. Obviously, overcome procrastination. Let go of perfectionism. Right. We'll also talk about the perfectionism, disruptions, how we can manage, and how we can avoid too much. This is not intended to be a hierarchy, right? Or it is not expected to be a stepwise kind of a process. These can be done in isolation, or this can be done with combination of one or two steps, right? But generally what we have seen is that this is the flow that we have, that we see. But I would not get into too much on the steps or the flow, but it is more on the tools or the manner how we should be managing time, right? Prioritizing, right? I think i think this is the first step what where we generally go wrong, right? We don't prioritize properly. Now, when I say prioritize, what you might be thinking is that you prioritize your work. What, which item of the to-do list will make the first cut, and which item of the to-do list will make last. But I am talking about prioritizing for the day in general, right? So if you have, your son's birthday coming up, or you have important day, then that should also be prioritized. So when I say prioritize, prioritize not just your work, but also your entire day, right? What is it that you want to do in that day, right? If there is a special moment, if there is a meeting that you want to have with your seniors or the leadership for escalating certain matters, or you want to reach out to a client, take him or her for lunch, then that should also be a key item for priorities, right? So don't misunderstand when I say prioritize to work, but I'm talking about prioritizing your 10 to 12 waking hours on that particular day. Now, generally, what we would expect is that you start writing a to-do list. Okay, and that list, as I said, can be mix of professional as well as personal goals, right? Then obviously prioritize this in a ABC form. We'll come to what is A, B, and C. But then out of that to-do list, we need to see which one is really important and something which is not so important. Based on that, probably we need to schedule our day or week, right? And most importantly, what we don't do is to assign a deadline. If an item that you are prioritizing doesn't have a deadline, I can confirm it to you that it will never be met, right? If you like to go for singing lessons, and if you don't have a deadline to finish your practice of a particular song, then probably that you will never be able to learn that song. And it is even applicable even for your day-to-day professional work also, that if you say that I have to submit this task but you don't know by when it is to be submitted, more likely than not you will not be able to do it properly. Review the list, break large tasks into smaller tasks. Generally, we would say that we would be finishing this task on this particular day, but there could be very smaller milestones, right, that you might need to achieve. So, for example, let's assume you are launching a new mobile phone, and you know that you have to launch the mobile phone on the date of Christmas. But that's the end result. But before you do that, you need to have an alignment with the team. You need to have a marketing plan. You need to have that approval within, or the consensus within the team. You need to have allocation of resources. So your launching of new mobile phone on 25th of December may have many smaller and granular goals. So when you are prioritizing, when you are setting off your schedule, also what you should do is to prioritize those granular tasks, right? That you might need to perform. Delegate. I think we spoke out briefly about the benefits of delegation. Uh, uh, you might need to uh, get help from others when you are delegating. And then when lastly, what you should also do is to consider your daily life cycle, right? When are you most focused during the day? Generally, from my perspective, I am more focused and more energetic at the morning 10 to 12 time. So I would generally prioritize my toughest work at that particular point in time, right? So again, that's a very overview of what is prioritizing. But my reiteration to all of you would be to schedule a deadline, right? And prioritize your work, right? And we'll talk about what is ABC. But the takeaway from this slide is that you should prioritize and you should schedule your day with a deadline. Priority. So, what is a priority? So, we know what is ABC analysis. It is based on the importance. A is the most important, B is a lesser important item, and C is the least important item. So, we find out from a to do list perspective, split this into A, B, and C. A is urgent and important. Okay. A is also to support a long term goal. A is also to support others who work with you, right? And the litmus test that I do with me is that I ask myself, if this if this is not happening today, how terribly I would look tomorrow, right? So I ask myself, what terrible things will happen if I don't do this today? Now, if you have a grave consequence, then by default this is under a priority. So if you don't do it today, then most likely there will be a severe implication on you as an individual or as a team leader. Considering the urgency and the need, you would obviously assign this to be a top A category, right? But something which is urgent, something which is supporting long-term view or the long-term vision is would generally be coming under the priority A. Priority B. is important but is not that urgent. So it is that gray zone which is between not urgent and super urgent, right? And depending on the day, depending on the time, B can become A, which is topmost, or B can also become C, right, which is the bottom end of the pyramid, right? One tip I want to leave with all of you is that you should never do a B task or a B level task when there is a A level task, right? So B, as I said, is lesser of an importance. It is important, but it is not that urgent. So never ever pick up or agree to pick up a B priority task when it is not urgent. C priority, not important or urgent. Sometimes are not important. Sometimes some things are not important but urgent. So I think we need to distinguish on what is urgent and what is important. Something which is not important on urgent has to be C priority. And this is just the flip or the opposite of A priority, which is there are no consequences of not doing it. So it would be most like a nice to have kind of a work, right? But again, as time progresses, this C category might also become B or it might also become A. So this point in time assessment of ABC or prioritization might also change in future, right? So the consequences of not doing this, right, is minimal or non-existent. So it might be a nice to do kind of a work. Yeah. So this is just a grid. I thought I would explain this to all of you. It is based on importance and it is based on not important. So urgent, as I said, is crisis, pressing problem, deadline driven projects, meetings, preparations. Let's say you have to prepare for a presentation at a particular forum. You might need time to prepare the speaker notes or the slide deck. That would become urgent. Something which is not urgent, right? It is like a clarification. It is like relationship building. It will be empowerment. It will be creation, recreation activity, right? So something which may not be that emergency kind of a situation, but something can be handled in a much more comfortable way. Something which is not important is interruptions, some phone calls, some emails, some meetings, uh, they some popular activities. Something which is not important at all or not urgent at all is time wasters, excessive email, excessive screen time, or doing some miscellaneous kind of a work just to show you are busy. So let's understand all these four parts or four quadrant, as you can see. These represent the most urgent and the most important. This is where we need to spend time today, right? This is that zone where we put our things, where we need to manage, where we bring experience and judgment to respond to everyday's need and challenge. Most important activities which become urgent through procrastination or because we don't have enough prevention and planning. Now, out of this four quadrant, whichever is important, not important, is will be dependent on that particular individual and particular point in time. There cannot be a set rule, right? So for me, let's say if I have to spend time reading a particular book, for me it might be urgent, right? Because I may have to give a, a lecture on the based on the book that I'm reading, but that may not be an important or urgent item for you, right? So what I'm trying to tell you that all that four quadrant ABC analysis is fine, but ultimately it is on that person and based on the time of assessment, he or she has to decide the to-do list falls, the items of the to-do list falls in which categories, right? Uh, Quadrant one, as I said, is the most important, where we have to spend time today or tomorrow. We cannot get away by not spending time. Quadrant two, as I said, they are important but not urgent. Here we do our long-term planning. We anticipate and we prevent problems. We work on our future vision. We broaden our mindset. I, in my experience, what I have seen people not doing is working on this quadrant two in a proper way, right? Because if we are not working on this quadrant two, then the items which are not important or not urgent, right, becomes urgent at a later point in time, right? So something which is in a quadrant two, we should be making sure that we are doing or dealing with these things properly so that it doesn't become a quadrant one or a category uh, a deliverable or a problem. Uh, Now, if we are not working on quadrant two properly, uh, it would lead to burnout. It will lead to deeper crisis. But most importantly, investing time in this quadrant will shrink quadrant one, right? So I'm repeating, investing time in this quadrant will shrink quadrant one. What it effectively means is that don't make things emergent, right? Which are actually not emergent. So if an item which can be handled in a much more peaceful way, do spend time, right? Or else it will only escalate to become a problem, right? So invest time in items for quadrant two. Your automatically your items or your efforts in quadrant one will come down, right? Quadrant three, as I said, it's urgent but not important. Uh, there is a noise of urgency, and that urgency is an illusion, right? Uh, Actual activities, if they're important at all, are important to someone else, right? Many phone calls, meetings, drop in visitors fall in this category, right? So, this quadrant three is more like a perception issue rather than an actual issue, right? So, these are the urgent, these are the things which we perceive it to be urgent, but they are not actually urgent. Quadrant four, not urgent, not important, waste of time, right? These are often the escape mechanism or the escape routes that we would use. Maybe spending more time on social media, unnecessary talking on phone, screen time are also part of this, right? Mindlessly watching or mindlessly binging on Netflix or other OTT platforms, or gossiping in office, right? They are actually real time wasters, and they are in quadrant four, right? So just to sum this up, I think what we're trying to say, if it is urgent plus important, do it. Urgent plus not important, delegate, right? So this is that quadrant two. Not urgent plus important, schedule them in your calendar in advance, but not important, not urgent, delete. Okay, so delete that quadrant four items which is there in your to-do list, right? But again, maybe I'll spend one or two more time in bullet number two, which is urgent but not yet important. So please delegate, right? So unless you delegate it properly, it will be leading to a burnout, and it will unnecessarily come into the urgent plus important category. And the more you work on the urgent plus not important category, you would be able to shrink your urgent plus important category. So do spend time, reflect, and I'm sure you would be making your own to-do list. But after this session, I would request all of you to go back and look at your to-do list and break this into four categories as we are discussing now. Now, How we can manage time, right? Um, I think delegation. I am a big pro for delegation. But as I said, delegation doesn't mean abdication. There has to be a reasonable degree of control. So whenever I would delegate, I would be very clear in my mind what is that I am delegating, right? Is it that I want someone to collate a particular set of data point which is available, or is there a certain judgment or there a certain discussion which you might need to have when that person is working? So, as a team leader, it is highly important that we are very clear on what we are delegating. So, unless we are ourselves very clear, we will not be able to achieve the desired outcome, right? Uh, Delegation, as I said, brings a deeper sense of value, and it limits uh, and it frees up your bandwidth also, right? For delegation, what you should do is that you should find the first of all the correct set of data that you want to be delegated. Second, to whom you want to delegate. Mind you, the other person might also have conflicting deadlines. So it is also important to find out a person who not only possess the skill set or the bandwidth, but that person, he or she, is also very keen on helping you with this particular delegation. Many a times, what we have felt is that the work is delegated without proper supervision or without proper purpose. One thing that as a team leader that we should do is to make the person aware how the work or the delegated work is working in a larger scheme of things, right? He or she may be a very small part of the entire project, but what we should be apprising the team is that is your delegation is playing an important role in the overall delivery of the department. Because unless you delegate with proper instructions or with proper motivation, the outcome may not come in the way you would desire, right? Um, you would generally delegate a routine kind of a job to your team members, but as and when you grow up and you also have senior team members, you would also have instances where you would be delegating a part of a judgmental or a complex work to your team, to your other team members or your immediate junior. So in that case, the clarity in the mind of the delegator as well in the mind of a delegatee is quite important. And unless there is no matching of thoughts, it would be difficult to have a good outcome. Interruptions. How do we control interruptions? I think in our phones we have this app to control other apps, basically to control the other apps in terms of time, where we manage our screen time. We get some reports, right? Weekly reports. But I'm not sure that is helping. But this at least we have some app where we can look at the time that we spend on other distractions or interruptions. But other than that, right, there are also uh, things to that you can do, right? What you can do is that uh, when are you busy, right? You set your expectation with the teams or with other external persons. Let's say you're supposed to have a meeting at a particular time. You're supposed to prepare for a particular time. Make sure that you are away from interruptions. And to do that is to probably inform your secretary or inform your other team members that can you not allow people at this particular point in time. So you are actually safeguarding yourself from disruptions. You are cutting away your time from disruptions. Casual drop-ins. Okay. Uh, there might be people who just be walking up to you and talking to you for a casual chit chat, right? There are also ways and means to control, but probably if you would nudge them and if you could tell them once or twice that you are not liking it, then probably you would be able to control those interruptions. Meeting in other person's office, I think that is a great way where you don't invite the person, but you go to that other person's office and you control those interruptions. So two things happens. In that case, you have to schedule that meeting in your calendar, right? And since you are the one who is visiting them, you would be preparing yourself for that meeting, right? So 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 I think this is also one of the way to avoid casual drop-ins and to also manage your interruptions. uh, you should be ruthless, okay, when you are talking about your time, but you're also gracious with people. So people might be expecting certain things from you, right? There might be an emergency situation and they might would have just come and asked for your help. There might be a certain time where you have to be ruthless. You have to tell the person that, boss, I don't have bandwidth now, right? Whatever may come. But be gracious when you when somebody has come and asked you for help. I think it is just professional that you are gracious with that particular person. Have a clock available, right? You should always see, look at the time and make sure that you have a clock to say that how much you are spending time, right? Missed calls, right? You might be having a phone which is on silent, or you may have few missed calls. You may want to schedule a particular point in time during the day where you would call back those missed calls. So net in this particular slide, what we're trying to highlight is that there is ways and means to avoid interruptions. The most common way is to first of all, um, uh, clearly keep in mind that you are able to manage your time properly, right? There are ways and means. There are ways to call back missed calls. There are ways of how you can manage disruptions or casual visitors, right? But it ultimately depends on you how you put those safeguards, right? Now, disruptions are most often urgent, at least in the mind of the person who is presenting them, but may not be they're important for you, right? So, so I think disruptions, what we would have seen in our office, is is quite common, right? And we would need to find ways to manage those disruptions. Uh, what I do is that I also try to keep a log, right? I may not have a very precise and exact kind of a list, but I at least in a log I maintain what are those disruptions which I would like to avoid, right? Is this that I could have planned those better? If I could have planned those disruptions, then yes, why didn't I plan? Okay. So probably a way to keep a log and manage them would help. Another thing would be to say no. I think in our human psyche, we always feel that if we say no, we are in a disadvantageous positions. I don't think so. When I say no, it only means that you value the other work more than the one which is requested. So you should be polite, okay? But equally, you should be assertive, right? It can't be that you want to say no, but you are not saying it out loud, right? You have to be very, very clear of saying no, right? So in our day life also, when we look at uh, uh, to-do list and items, we should be able to say no, right? Uh, Other tips, it could be the turning off of the chat, right? D&D mode in your Outlook or your other media, right? Or there are limits that you want to set for necessary interruptions, right? But again, it all depends on the person. It all depends on the environment in which he or she is working. But at least what I could share from my experience is having a log of possible distractions that had helped me to manage few of them. Okay. Now, to diffuse disruptions, what you should is uh, remind yourself that your availability is not equal to your importance. I think people feel that if you are available, this shows that how important you are. I think I think that might be a branding kind of initiative or branding kind of a measure in the initial days. But as and when you go up the ladder, as and when you mature in a particular organization, right? What becomes more important is that how much value that you are able to add. It is not how available you are, and the more value would be able to add is by more focused time. So if you are able to spend time think on a particular complex matter, then obviously your outcome would be much better, right? So my advice to all of you is that you should remind yourself that your availability is not equal to your importance. Your importance is far more, and it is more value additive as compared to just being available everywhere. uh, So if somebody comes and asks you, maybe you can say that that to say that if I have a minute later, right, that might be able to diffuse these you know serial serial intruders, right? Open door policy. I think every firm and every organization will have open door policy, but there is something called as modified open door policy also. What it means is that my door is open, right? But again, it is open for this time to this time, right? So you're modifying the time, right? Wherein you can have discussion with other visitors, right? Uh, if you are unable to spend your focus time, or if you're getting disrupted, maybe you might think of working from other locations, right? Many of the organizations provide work from home option or work from anywhere options, uh, subject to the policies of those firms. If they permit, then you might like to consider working from some other location. Okay. Uh, a very small tip, maybe configure your office so that your desk faces the door. So you are able to see who is coming, who is not coming, right? If your back is facing the door, probably you will not be able to know who that person is intruding, right? If you have an intrusive visitor, maybe you would like to stand up and tell them that you are intruding, and probably it is not a good time to discuss. Schedule meetings in other person's office. I think we discussed this, but again, if you're able to schedule meeting with somebody else, you would be able to work on it properly, and you would be able to have to be meaningfully diffusing disruptions. Next tip which I would like to give you is to plan your day. Many of us plan the to-dos, but they don't plan the day, right? And they're very interesting analysis that many people have done. So one of them is called the Pareto principle, which means that if that you could reduce your uh, involvement or disruptions by 20%, you could have you could be 80% more productive. Okay. Uh, so I think this is important to say that if you put 20% effort, your results will just multiply to 80%, right? Uh, so planning the day is important as planning uh, the to-do list, because it not only tells you what is important, but it also tells you which all pockets of time you are important, right? Many people we have seen, many a time we have seen that uh, that people spend very less time in planning the day, right? If you don't plan properly, then you're up to failure. So the old adage that we have, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So you should be planning properly uh, to see that you are successful as a professional. How do we plan a day? Obviously, we have priorities based on urgency and importance. Get the timing right. As I said, at what point in time you are most efficient or you are most focused. Try to prioritize or plan the toughest work or the work that you have been avoiding at that particular point in time, right? Generally people feel that that morning is the time where you work hard because you have just started our day. But again, it might vary from people to people, right? But the idea is to schedule time or pick up the most difficult or the most complicated work when you feel more energized and when you have more peace of mind. Generally that happens in the morning time, right? uh, Take off peak time, take frequent breaks, meet people socially, improve your social circle. That will indirectly be able to boost your feeling, and probably you will be more energized when you are working for long hours. Have work breaks. You might have to break during the day. Uh, uh, Maybe spends a coffee time with your colleague, with your peer groups, right? We might need to do these activities as a team also to break fatigue and also to have a proper team bonding. uh, we, we should also learn to live in the present. We should be aware of what is happening in our surroundings. What is it that we are trying to achieve today? So, if you are able to live 100% in the present, you would be able to plan your day better. Because what happens by living in the present is that you are completely focused. You are aware of what is it that you would like to do in a particular day. Procrastination. I think we spoke about it in the past, but one of the messages that we want to pass on is to banish procrastination, or at least try to avoid procrastination. And it begins with you. It begins with the first step that you are procrastinating. If you ask many professionals and you say that are you procrastinating, the answer would be no, generally, right? But I think as a professional, we should be aware and we should acknowledge that in some instances we are procrastinating. So unless we have an inward introspection and uh, uh, we identify those urges, we would not be able to solve it. So the first thing is that to identify that you are procrastinating. Second step obviously is to evaluate and diagnose the reasons, right? Which tasks, which people, right? Which team member, or you know, what is that is creating this procrastination? Is the work? Is it people? Is it environment? What is the reason for you to procrastinate? Countermeasures, maybe to use a to-do list, breaks big large part into small parts, schedule specific times, address reason, and most importantly, reward yourself, right? We generally try to reward our team members, but what is also important that we reward ourselves. So maybe maybe an ice cream late night, or maybe a coffee, with your loved ones, right? Or going out in some movies or for some lunches. Probably that would be a way to reward yourself, because the more we feel rewarded or the more we feel remunerated, our motivation to work increases. So if we have been able to attempt to manage one part of procrastination, do reward yourself. And I can tell you that that will go a very long way. That will only help you to keep a motivated mind, and it will help you to obviously overcome procrastination in a longer way. So this is just an extension of what we was speaking. Creating the right environment, set up the right task, deadlines, do the fun stuff first, right? If there is a difficult time, but there is some portion of that particular task which is interesting or which is fun, try to do that, right? Start somewhere, start anywhere. I think people try to find out that perfect or a right point in time to start. My advice to all of you is to just start. Okay. uh, because what we have seen is that as and when we start working, we are able to find our ways through it. So the first step of starting, that I think have will trigger a change across uh, the attitude that you have in dealing with procrastination. Multitasking, that you should also be aware that when you are doing a procrastination, it might involve multitasking. So you might be dealing with an item which is of no urgency, but there are also other emergent items that you need to cater to, right? Lastly, what I would also like all of you to acknowledge, that we should not have this perfection syndrome, right? It cannot be that we all are perfect and we do things only perfectly, right? So I think what we should acknowledge is that we can't do everything perfectly. So being imperfect is perfectly fine, right? Maybe we are better in something else, right? But when we are looking at procrastination, the always being perfect, I think it alludes and erodes the fact that you could have done at least something in a midway, right? Perfectionism. I think this is one topic which we all feel and which we all somehow uh, uh, advocate also, is that we have to be perfect in what we are doing. Now, the problem with being perfectionism or being a perfect is that you are always on a firefighting mode, right? You always have this perceived standard that you yourself has set for yourself, right? So you are always trying to match that perception. It leads to burnout, right? You somehow avoid to see the big picture because you're so focused on a particular thing that you start micromanaging, right? And if even 0.1% the work is below your set standard, you feel irritated and you feel flustered. You feel that you are incompetent. So what I would like to advise to all of you would be is that we should have high standards, okay? But we should also have attainable standards, right? If I have to work, uh, if I have to work in a particular way, I might be able to achieve it, but I should also be knowing the how to attain those standards, right? I might have very high aspirations, but those standards should be attainable, right? Another way to look at is to focus on the big picture. People who are perfect are too focused on granular or smaller items of the entire chain. They don't focus on big picture. So unless you focus on big picture, your being perfect will still not help the entire team. It will not help you from a deliverable standpoint. Okay. uh, and whenever we have this gush of emotions of being perfect, I think we should take a step back, should analyze and reframe, right? uh, the habit of being perfect is good, but we should also be conscious that there might be other needs that we should be conscious of, right? So when you're perfect, probably in one of the scenarios where you have not been able to attain the desired objective, please don't throw the entire work away, right? Replan it, right? Maybe we could attend this time, but can we not do it the next time? So the resilience in our mind is important for us to maintain a harmony between a perfect professional versus a very thorough professional, right? So I at least for myself, I would like myself to be called as a thorough professional rather than being a perfect professional. But again, that is a choice of each and every individual. But what we have seen is that being on the attempt of being perfect, we lose the wider relevance, right? So it is important that we take a step back and we analyze how we can still manage to do high quality work and to stay away from impracticable, a kind of a work. Be punctual and disciplined, right? What it means by punctual is that you show up on time, right? It is also a way to show a mutual respect, right? Because if somebody has scheduled something or set up a deadline for you, if you are responding within that, I think you are also showing a mutual respect to the other person, and it is important that we are focused on that aspect. Uh, Always falling sick on deadline, or not informing your seniors when you're taking leaves probably is also a way to put stress on the entire function, right? So nobody is saying that you cannot take leave. Obviously leaves are there, but I think we should be able to be professional when we are asking for leaves, right? So be punctual, be professional in supporting the team, and uh, le- let's say that if you have a starting time at 9:30 at office every day, let's say that if you're able to be there 5 minutes early, I can tell you you're coming 5 minutes early avoids stress in your mind, it frees up your mental bandwidth, and you are able to start off your work in a much more happy and cohesive way. Take ownership of your work, right? And this is somehow linked with the delegation also, but I think it is on the other side. uh, when you have been assigned to a particular job, you don't work just to show your seniors that you're doing a good job. You are working to show that you are actually a thorough professional, right? You should work for yourself and not work for somebody else, right? The dedication towards a particular job or a particular deliverable comes from within, right? It is not that that it has to come from somebody else. You should hold yourself accountable. We spoke of perfectionism, but we also spoke of attainable standards, right? High but attainable standards. Please be responsible for the work that you have done, and if there's a mistake, please be willing to accept your mistake. Okay. And mind you, if you have accepted something, it becomes your responsibility to complete it and within the allotted time. So what it does is that it frees up the bandwidth of the supervisor. It also have creates a much more positive thought within the team, and that also builds the entire team and brings them together, right? So this is from the point of view of the delegatee, right? Where we would expect them to work in a responsible and time sensitive and in a timely accountable way. Be a little diplomatic also. There is no harm in saying no. I think we discussed this earlier also. Do not accept, do not say yes to everything, right? Because if you say yes to everything, then probably you would not be doing justice to the work which is actually important, right? Do not accept everything which comes in your way. Uh, and mind you, a polite no, right? If you say a no politely, would only do less harm as compared to doing a botched up job, right? So it is important that we say no politely but firmly. But it is only a way to say that I am unable to prioritize your work, prob- probably because I would have a priority for other things.
Then नीचे divide है.
Sorry, is there something for me, Chairman? Okay. So, employees who were having delegated responsibilities, they must be delegated based on their specialization and background. This is the way to show more interest and eventually finishing on time. But my sincere request to all of you would be to say no when you are not comfortable, when there are too many things that is coming to your way. Don't be a yes man to say that you will say yes to everything. Be polite but firm to say that you are unable to do a particular deliverable. I think goal setting, right? We do goal setting. In every organization, they will have their set goals. Uh, and they would be done at the beginning of the year. That's the time when we'll open that form, and we will open that form again one more time, which is the at the end of the year, right? And for the entire 360 days, probably we will not even remember what those goals were. So I think goal setting, I find personally to be a very, very important tool because you are trying to say what is it that you would be studying or what is it that you will be working on, right? So break your goals into smaller goals. But the idea is to have one particular goal which is measurable and which is smart for you to achieve and manage time, right? Goals, as I said, should be smart, it should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be relevant, and it should be timed. Okay. So what I meant is that it can't be that uh, I want to, read a book. That is not a smart goal. The smart goal is I want to read this book and finish it by this time, right? You are setting a precise statement of what need to be accomplished. Exactly what you are going to do and how much, right? When you are going to do and how often you are going to, right? So if you want to finish a book every week, maybe we will say that I have bought these 5 books. This book I will pick up this week. This book I will pick up next week, right? So again, a very, very specific goal. Goal should also be measurable, right? It should not be subjective. There has to be some objective based criteria to measure a particular behavior or a particular goal. Attainable, right? I think every new year we have this goal of going to the gym and being fit, but we may not be attaining uh, every time. So when you set a goal, you also need to develop that entire ecosystem which will help you to attain a particular goal. So many people will just set a goal, but what they generally would forget is that to achieve a goal, there has to be an ecosystem which would help you to attain that goal. So, for example, if I have to wake up and go to gym every day, Do I have my clothes have been kept ready? My gym clothes have been kept ready. Um, is there an alarm that has been put off in my phone, right? Do I have enough breakfast before I would go to the gym? I think this will only help you to have reasons to attain that objective, because you, unless you have that surviving ecosystem, most likely than not, you will not be able to attain those goals, right? So create that ecosystem, and you also have to create an attainable kind of a goal, right? uh, Goal is to be fit. I'm sure the goal is to be fit, but that fitness level will also come over a period of time, right? And uh, and what I meant by attainable is that you break this entire goal into smaller chunks, and those smaller chunks should be attainable with not a lot of discomfort, right? It should be relevant. So ultimately, whatever goal you fix, it should be serving your wider purpose, right? So for example, if your value, if you want to contribute to some CSR activity, it should ultimately be fulfilling some purpose of you. If you want to learn singing, probably you want to, it will be relevant to you as a person, right? If you want to work towards a particular high profile case, probably that's something which is interest to you. So fix goals which are relevant to you personally, which are relevant to you professionally, because in the longer run, the liking or the purpose of the goal is what will push you to be consistent and to be able to attain those goals. Lastly, but most importantly, timed. Keep a finishing time. Any goal which doesn't have a finishing time will never be achieved, right? Because there is no finishing time, right? So I think one of the important characteristics of a smart goal is to be a timed goal, right? There has to be a proper deadline for a particular goal. Okay. Now, when you are doing your to-do list also, the great way to smart your goals is to create a to-do list, because ultimately that's the starting point for you to create goals, right? Uh, Link that to-do list with the smart goals, right? For example, whether it is attainable, whether it is timed, you do need to link those to-do list with their uh, uh, goals, right? Let's see what are the other time savers, right? Concentration, I think we spoke of. We avoid interruptions. We also focus on good health, right? Physical fitness, mental well-being are equally important to save time. Now, how does it save time? Because it puts you in a much more efficient mode. If you are fit physically and mentally, you are able to execute your goals in a much more faster way. You are able to deal with a particular problem in a much more better way. It will avoid your burnout, and it will also improve your bandwidth. So I'm saying there has to be a element of good health. Use of committed time, right? Fix your time, right? Go beyond a particular time slot that you have scheduled. This is commonly known as time boxing, where you box your time for a particular activity. The moment you meet that particular time limit, you shut down that activity, right? Because you have to focus on other. So I find the time boxing strategy as also a good source of a time saver tip. Now, as far as the juniors are concerned, we will have subordinates, and those subordinates, knowingly or unknowingly, would expect some kind of a solution on the proposed problem. So my advice to all of you would be to not just to give solutions, but let those subordinate team members think and come to you with possible options, right? Only because you have experience on this particular on the topic, that doesn't mean your answer will always be right, right? This will not only save your time but also build the entire team, right? So whenever you are delegating something to the subordinate, make sure that they come to you with a proposed solution. That obviously will cut down your timing and involvement. Now, other time management tools, I think we use some of the other. I think one of the item that I use very often nowadays are the note taking apps. Right, there are tools that are available, which will help you to take meeting notes, and that might be an efficiency kind of a initiative that you might want to have. Habit tracking, right? I think we spoke of time tracker. Time tracker is more to do with how much you're spending time, but habit tracking is also that list of habits that you want to get away from, right? If you are able to manage those habits, you should be having a tracking mechanism to see that how those habits can be made good. Task manager or project manager, I think that we would generally use, and we also use calendar to schedule our meeting. But again, the moot point is that there are many tools that are available because of the advent of technology. There is a burst of apps that are available free of charge. My expectation to all of you would be to create these tools to make yourself more efficient. Okay. Now let's look at this time management from two different ways: role of a supervisor and a role of a team member. Now, as a supervisor, we must realize that the time of subordinate in the organization is equally important as his or her, right? I can't be expecting my subordinate to work till 11 o'clock every day and then come to office at 9:30 every day, right? Their time is also important. Their time with themselves, their time with family, their time with other aspirations is equally important. So as an effective supervisor, we should be acknowledging and be respectful of the other people's time also. The task that you are monitoring, right, is your task. It is not the duties of the subordinate. So as I said, delegate but don't abdicate, right? The task you have taken on or you're monitoring are your task, right? They are just as a helping hand. Okay. uh, if a subordinate is working on multiple deliverables or multiple people or dealing with multiple expectations, I think as a supervisor we should be right in those emerging situations or in those emergency situations, step up, right, and also help the subordinate to whatever extent can to manage his or her bandwidth. If you have particular time slot that is available, if you have certain bandwidth, why don't you offer your bandwidth and help that team member to deal with these complex matters? So being supervisor doesn't mean that it will always be one way. Supervisor also means that you work as a team. Supervisor continues to be a part of the team, right? He or she is not different from the team, right? So as it is said for team spirit, one for all for one, right? So as a supervisor, if there's a need, you would need to step in and maybe fill in the shoes of the subordinate for a brief period of time. System improvements. As a boss or as a supervisor, your endeavor should be that you improve the systems and processes to make it most efficient, right? So that is an expectation from a supervisor that will improve efficiency of the team, and then it will obviously lead to a better time management for the entire team. Um, as a personal experience, I have felt the use of technology is a great enabler, right? to automate or to carry out mundane tasks. So, as a supervisor and as a boss, you should be finding out ways and means to improve systems and bring in more processes. Uh, Perfection, I think, as we said, it can become counterproductive, right? Perfection can only lead to a particular level of admiration, but beyond that particular point, it might become counterproductive for the team because you being too perfect can only be a hindrance for the overall team deliverables and team's expectations, right? So perfection at times can become counterproductive. So if I have to sum up as a role of supervisor or as a boss, our effect should be that we respect other people's time also, right? We engage frequently in m- improving systems and processes, and we can only uh, we are as good as a team. If the team is not proper, then obviously as a team leader, probably we have failed some point in time. Role of a subordinate. Okay, the subordinate should also realize that the supervisor has a wider vision, right? It is not that uh, the work of the department or the function is limited only to the work that has been delegated to, right? They should acknowledge that that they are paying part of the entire scheme, and they would definitely then have a wider vision, right? Devote time for organizational objectives and goals, right? uh, because you are second in line. You are not just supposed to carry out what your supervisor is saying. You should equally be spending time on organizational objectives. If you are clear of the objectives of the organization, if you are clear about your goals, probably you will be able to manage your time better because now you know what is the purpose. Now you know for what you are working on. Yeah. Do not go to your supervisor just to seek his views. Go to them with certain homework, with certain perspective and possible solution, right? Because at the end of the day, the supervisor is also a human being. He or she would have multiple expectations and multiple goals. Uh, some urgent, some not so urgent. But if you go to them uh, to discuss a problem with possible solution, you are positively helping his bandwidth. You are lowering the stress level, but you are also lowering the level of involvement and time that that he or she will have to invest. Okay, and most importantly, manage the problem that can be tackled at that your level. You don't need to go to the supervisor for every small thing. He or she trusts you. That's the reason you have been given this particular work, right? So I think it is equally important that we understand that we that there are certain problems which we can manage at our level. We don't need to consume the bandwidth or time of the supervisor, and hence that should be tracked and tackled at your level. Okay, I have last two slides to go, but if I could uh, recap, and there's a very interesting quote which I read and I thought I'll share with you. Yesterday is like a cancelled check, tomorrow is a promissory note, today is ready cash. So use it. So I think from an auditing and accounting fraternity, we know what is a cancelled check, we know what is a promissory note, and we certainly know the importance of cash, right? So spend your time wisely. Today is the time. There is no better time than today. Use it to your benefit. Wherever feasible, delegate. Yes, delegate, but don't abdicate, right? You still continue to remain responsible for your work. Do not let the paperwork pile up, right? Do not avoid paperwork. If there are certain filings to be done, some documents to be filed in a particular, you know, uh, file, make sure that it is the paperwork is filed in a proper way. Do not postpone your work, right? If something that can be done today, you have sufficient time, finish it today. Don't make non-urgent urgent. Identify your time wasters, right? Identify what is taking your time, right? Is it procrastination? Is it something that you have been mindlessly scrolling through social media, or you're binging unnecessarily late night on OTT platforms? What is it that's taking your time, right? Find ways to eliminate them. Also, add some relaxation time in your schedule. In our Outlook, in our MS Outlook that we use to send email, there is an option to create focus time, right? So why don't you use that focus time option in your Outlook, right, to have a time for your relaxation and your recreation. Okay. Identify and make use of up and down time. As I said, for me, my uptown is the morning time where I would take on the most difficult and the most complex tasks. You need to find your uptime and schedule and prioritize your work accordingly. Uh, I think I said this earlier, but for the sake of repetition, saying no is not a crime, right? It only means that you are giving proper priority to other items, right? That is there in your to-do list. We should be learning to say no politely but assertively. Now, committed time. Let's say if you have to travel from one place to another, you spend 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day to travel, let's say from home to your office. How efficiently can you use that time, right? Waiting time. Let's say when you are sitting and waiting for a particular person or a particular time, can you not use that waiting time to your benefit? Okay. Plan the day, right? As I said, when we talk about planning and prioritizing, it is not planning and prioritizing your work, but planning the day, right? Set goals and work towards achieving them, right? And uh, it is, as I said, keep smart goals, right, which are measurable, which are specific, and which are relevant, and that would be able to make you a much more efficient professional. When I say keep the boss happy, what I mean that is that you do your part and expect the boss to also do their part, right? Thus, the happiness starts from within. So you may also take the first step, perform your roles and responsibilities in a professional environment, and I'm sure the other person will also reiterate and reciprocate in a much more professional and time sensitive way. Yeah. So that's all I had to cover. Charmi, I am sending it back to you. If there are any questions, happy to discuss.
Yes, sir. We do not have any questions as of now.
Yeah.
Yes, there is one question coming up from the participant is how to restrain ourselves from avoiding the tasks which are sometimes tedious, unpleasant to us in our workplace. It actually develops a habit of procrastination over the period.
So I think, Charmi, I did speak about this during my discussion, but I don't think it is correct to say that in a work environment it is unpleasant, right? Because you are there to work, right? Uh, and when you are there in a particular role, it comes as a package. I can't be picking up something which I like and I say that I dislike other things, right? So in a working environment, I understand there could be certain difficult and tedious tasks, but I would not like to say that there are unpleasant tasks. In a professional environment, you are expected to work in a particular way. And more likely than not, if you deal with these so-called unpleasant tasks, it is only adding to your skills, right? Because you're feeling it unpleasant because you somewhere believe that you are less skilled to handle that particular way. So I would advise this person who has raised this question to use this as a challenge rather than as a point of difficulty, right?
Thank you, sir. The next question is, we keep deadlines for goals, but when those are not achieved, we feel sad, and that sadness affects my other goals and works. Not able to get out of this.
I think when you are setting goals and what you would like this person to go back and check, were these attainable goals, right? I might think of going to Everest, right? But is it that I have started working towards it? We feel very sad when those goals are not achieved, but I want him or her to reflect that did we actually give our efforts, best efforts, to achieve those goals? So I don't think we are entitled to feel sad if we have not been able to perform those goals, those activities in that trigger. But having said that, right, it could be possible that despite our best efforts, we are not able to achieve, right? I think what keeps me happy in those scenario is the effort that I have put, right? I have joy when I am able to demonstrate that I did my best, right? So I would advise rather than feeling sad, I think we should be feeling happy that we have done what best I could do, right? If it doesn't happen, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board and redraw our goals and redraw the timeline. But feeling sad when the goals have not been met, I think is much more destructive, and we should be feeling happy of what we did.
Do you suggest to change the mindset of the person rather than the goal and the achieving part?
I think the first thing, as I said, is to be respectful of that there is something I want to achieve. If there is something I have said myself to achieve, how can I not put my 100%, right?
Exactly. Thank you so much, sir, for the elaborate session. So these were the only uh, questions. So if you want to sum up in a line or so, you can sum up your session before we come to the end of it.
I think my closing takeaway would be to plan your day, not just work, right? And I leave it at that. I think we spoke at length, and I just hope that whatever 2 hours we spent together with this participant, probably it was value additive for them, and I'm sure you would now be able to at least navigate the day-to-day challenges in a much more better way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. Thank you for your time, knowledge, and definitely the participants would have a good takeaway from this session. So, thank you very much, sir, for your time, and also a very uh, great thanks to the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee ICAI to arrange this webcast for the betterment of our fellow chartered accountants. And also a very great gratitude to our speaker from the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee for taking such a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chomi, and thank you, ICI, for having me. Thank you.
So thank you all the participants to have a successful webinar today. Thank you all. We complete the session.